Anxiety keeps me safe. If I wasn't anxious, I'd do something stupid. Worry and fear is useful for me. It stops me from messing up. Sound familiar? If you've ever told yourself any of these things, I get it. Anxiety feels like it's protecting you, like it's your personal alarm system, keeping you safe from failure, mistakes, embarrassment, or danger. But here's the twist. That feeling, it's a lie. In fact, believing that anxiety keeps you safe and therefore unconsciously justifying the need to keep it may just be keeping you stuck. And today, I'm going to show you why. Oh, very briefly, if you haven't joined us before on this channel, my name's Howard Cooper. I'm an ex-anxiety sufferer who's now spent over 23 years specializing in helping people overcome anxiety and becoming psychologically liberated from suffering. I go live on YouTube once a month. I create regular free anxiety-beating content. In order to be notified about new content coming up, simply clicking subscribe will mean you're more likely to see this new content when it comes up. Do you know what comes up these days if you Google biggest causes of death? It's things like heart disease, obesity-related illnesses, cancers linked to processed foods and sugar consumption. But despite this very genuine threat, how often do you see people panicking in the candy aisle at the supermarket? Never. But what do people actually freak out about? Spiders, flying, public speaking, social acceptance, these kind of things, which, statistically speaking, pose almost zero actual threat to your survival. You're more likely to die from your couch than from having an awkward conversation with someone. More people choke on ballpoint pens every year than get bitten by deadly spiders. But when was the last time you saw someone hyperventilating near a bag of Maltesers because sugar-related illnesses kill millions? The point is, anxiety doesn't protect you from real dangers. It just freaks out about the wrong ones. But why? Well, I want you to begin to think about anxiety as simply outdated mental software. Anxiety used to serve a purpose. Back when we were hunter-gatherers, it kept us on high alert for actual life or death threats. There's that rustle of leaves, a saber-toothed tiger about to jump out at us. Did I eat poisonous berries? Am I being watched by an enemy tribe? And let's be honest, from a survival point of view, these were really useful tendencies to have. For example, think about the fear of not being liked or accepted by others. Back then, if the tribe exiled you and don't like you, you'd have to live, hunt, survive harsh conditions all alone. It would likely result in certain death. And so fear was likely a useful thing, but fast forward 50,000 years and let's be honest, the fear of having a slightly awkward conversation or even not getting on with people at work, whilst unpleasant, doesn't have the same set of dramatic ramifications. So rather than anxiety protecting us from real threat, what are we using anxiety for now? Did I send that email with a typo? What if I embarrass myself at that meeting? What if I make the wrong choice for dinner? Our brains haven't evolved as fast as society has. We're still running an ancient survival program in a world where most of our threats aren't actually life-threatening. This is like trying to run the latest software for 2025 on Windows 95. It just doesn't work properly anymore. And of course, you're going to get the blue screen of death from time to time. But even still, people sometimes think that, okay, maybe it's a little overactive, but is it really not keeping me safe at all? Think of it this way. How do you teach young children to cross the road? Using fear. We say to them, don't run out into the road, else you'll get splattered. Frightening them is useful back then because they don't have the knowledge required to know when it's safe to cross. But as an adult, do you still feel panic every time you cross the street? Do you start shaking and hyperventilating at every crossing? No, because over time, wisdom took over. Now you know that if you look both ways, calmly assess the risk logically, and make a safe decision, you don't need anxiety to stay safe. So whilst fear may have taught you at first, wisdom, knowledge is what keeps you safe now. Oh, by the way, people could argue that even still, they have a slight thought of imagining getting splattered whilst crossing the road to remind them to look both ways before crossing, but even if that were true, you likely have that thought without feeling anxious about it. It's like the guy who came to see me who had an intense fear of spiders. And when he finally came to see me, he confessed he was a little nervous about getting rid of the fear. Why is that? I asked him. And he replied, well, if I wasn't afraid of spiders, how would I know not to stick my hand down dark holes if I was in the rainforest? Let that sink in. He believed that fear was the only thing stopping him from doing something obviously stupid. But the answer to that one is simple, right? Just because you aren't afraid anymore doesn't mean you have to become an idiot. People don't just shove their hands into dark holes just because they're not anxious. It's not how safety works. Imagine you're at home cooking something simple like toast. You pop the bread in, you step away for a second, and then suddenly your smoke alarm is screaming like your house is on fire. But is there an actual fire? No. Your toast just got slightly brown. Now, in a real emergency, a fire alarm is great, but if it's constantly going off for no reason, you're left feeling on edge, exhausted, stressed all the time. And that's exactly what chronic anxiety is doing to you. It's not keeping you safe, it's just overreacting to everything. And trust me, I know how that can feel. In fact, if you want to learn more about my personal journey with mental health, you can watch this video here. Anxiety and Panic Attacks, my battle with mental health. After this one, of course. And so before I give you 5 top mindset shifts to challenge your relationship with anxiety, I want to share a thought. Many people believe that anxiety is your body and mind answering the question, is there a threat? In other words, people believe that the feeling of anxiety is proof there is a real threat going on. But I want you to stop and realize anxiety is not the answer to that question. Anxiety is the question itself. The beep, beep, beep of the smoke alarm by the toaster is not telling me there's a threat at all. It's simply flagging up the question for me to calmly assess, is there a threat? Okay, so here's 5 mindset shifts to think about anxiety differently. 1. Remember that anxiety is a false alarm, not a survival system. If it actually kept you safe, you'd feel safer by now. 2. Keep in mind that fear is a learning tool, but wisdom is what protects you. You don't panic when crossing the street, you use knowledge. Evolution gave us anxiety, but society outgrew it. You don't need a hunter-gatherer stress response to send an email. 4. Letting go of anxiety doesn't make you reckless. Common sense still exists without panic. 5. The calmer you are, the better your decisions. Anxiety clouds judgment. Wisdom clears it. So keep all this in mind and give yourself permission to let anxiety go. It doesn't serve you anymore. And if you take nothing else from this video, remember this. Anxiety is the question, is there a threat? Not the answer. And if you want practical tools to help with this, check out my Extinguish Anxiety program. It's a short, practical online program with 5 game-changing techniques to diffuse feelings of overwhelm and panic in real time. The link is below if you want to check it out. If this video helped you, hit that subscribe button and join our community. I release regular videos to help you break free from anxiety, and I'd love to have you here. And in the meantime, take a breath, keep going. You've got this.